I'm not trying to draw a comparison with my skill set and your skill set, but as I was retiring from Saracens, I was coaching some of the younger lads, and we had Ben Earl, who's playing for England, sat in that chair as well, and I coached him. And one thing that I always picked up on, it wasn't about how strong they were or what moments they could do on a rugby field specifically. Yes, that's important, of course. I would always go based on athleticism, and maybe strength is a part of that, but just how they moved off the ball, how they got up off the floor, the body positions that they could get into in rugby, which there's loads of different body positions. And I saw Ben Earl, Nick Ezekwe, who plays for England, Maro Itoje, Max Mailings, who plays for Bristol in England. And you'd have to write a report and say, like, you know, out of these academy players, who do you think will come through? There was a couple of others. And it was crazy watching how some established coaches would profile players and be like, definitely not. Whereas I'd be like, take the rugby out of it. Like, as 16, 17-year-old young lads, the athleticism they've got is the foundations of being an athlete, like an athlete at the top level. And I'm not saying I got it right, but I kind of did get it right with the players that I profiled. Is that your role? So are you going to these places and take out the fact they've never played NFL or they've played a little bit? Are you looking for out-and-out athletes? Is that the number one?
Yeah, fundamentally it is. It's looking for... and that's the way that the game, and we have to be really in tune with what NFL trends are at the moment and the kind of athletes that are playing in the NFL. What would constitute a great athlete in the NFL 20 years ago doesn't stand up now anymore. So being in tune with that, finding pure athleticism, but it comes in lots of different forms. And you also take into account a bunch of things, like you said. So you can have a great athlete who's really, like guys that have come onto our program in the past who are former pros. It's probably going to be marginal gains when it comes to them developing as athletes because they've been in great setups already. But we've also had guys who you see the underlying traits, but like I said, they've walked off the street and they haven't had the access to facilities. And you think, wow, he could be considerably better at just purely as an athlete with us for even a short amount of time. So there's a lot of projection. But yeah, ultimately it's those exceptional athletic qualities that we think translate to the NFL.
Yeah. You see UFC do it really well. They now, because of Khabib Nurmagomedov, they head over to Dagestan and these kind of dark Eastern European countries where they wrestle, and you look at the programs they've now got in place, because ultimately there's a viable pathway now to be wrestling on the streets of Dagestan to being on a roster of the UFC and making millions of pounds. And that's where I'm really interested about this program, not just being a father, but just seeing how this year's acceleration of the program, I knew about it loosely before, like we spoke about. How long has it been running for?
So formally it started in 2017 in the way it is now, but there was some kind of early work going on in 2015, 16, trying to identify athletes as well.
So maybe it's social media, maybe it's just the world that I'm in with Zam and Harry Malander as well, that it does feel like there's an acceleration in this space. But the athletic profiling, when you go, just give us an example of, because the NFL, all shapes and sizes, right? So what are you looking for, and what kind of age profile as well?
So from an age perspective, it's really 20 to 25. It's that kind of sweet spot. So you're not eligible for the NFL or for this program until you're at least 3 years removed from high school, or like an international high school equivalent.
Why is that?
That's just the way that the NFL eligibility rules are built out, and because obviously they're kind of built around the college system in the US. So a lot of players will go from high school to college to the NFL. So it's that there is a certain amount of removal from it. But athletes that come through our program, typically because they have less experience, we see them more as 1 to 3 year sometimes projects. So you don't want to put necessarily a 28-year-old player into the program, because by the time they're viable for an NFL team, they're 31, and in the NFL, that's in your later years. So you want to trend as young as possible. And then when it comes to the physical attributes, we try and boil it down to speed and length. They're the traits that transfer, and that's what ultimately the NFL is starting to put out. And what you see a lot in today's NFL, the players that are out there, it's unbelievably fast, whatever position you're playing. And increasingly, these players are starting to look like NBA players. They're big, long, athletic, they can jump, they can run. And so we need to reflect that with the work that we're doing and the athletes that we're finding.
Yeah. When you say length, would you jumping?
So length, as in
or height.
We actually know, well, height, but also arm length is something that's kind of unique to this sport, in that there's a lot of close hand-to-hand combat going on, particularly around the line of scrimmage and the bigger bodies up front. And if my arm is longer than yours, you're just going to have a hard time trying to get hands on me and try and block me or take me out of a play, and it's actually a massive advantage. So it's something that and it's kind of weird. Like we have a player that has long arms.
I've got long arms.
There you go. Well, scouts sit up in their chairs when they see that kind of thing. You know,
Really,
yeah,
that's
and
really
that's
interesting.
a real thing. And there's a lot of personnel people and scouts and who would say, yeah, if your arm is less than 32 inches, you're going to struggle to play close to the line of scrimmage in the NFL because just people getting on you and trying to get on and off of people is a skill that you need to have, and having real length, arm length, helps with that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's very niche. It's very niche.
Niche. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's one. It's not crazy. Niche.
It's crazy as well.
Is the one.
It's niche.
So
yeah.
will you be like literally going around with the tape measure, just being like, right, hold your arms out. Let's just have a quick look.
Yeah, hand, arm, wingspan. That's sort of a staple in an NFL workout. They do all of those things at the NFL Combine every year. And with some positions, they mean more than others. Like I said, those bigger guys up front, that is all that close hand-to-hand work, that is something that people will look at. And you can have a red flag if a guy has a short arm. Does it translate every time to a great player? No, of course it doesn't. There's people that supersede those rules, but it's something that is at least looked at.
Yeah. And what else? So the speed has clearly always been a thing, and that's where it's like the 100-meter sprint, isn't it? In the Olympics, everyone's drawn to fast human beings. But it was watching Louis-Rees Zammit do the 40-yard dash. Mm-hmm. Right, saying 40-yard dash.
40 yards, yeah.
Right, I've got the terminology right. But watching it on social media and trying to work out, like, was that quick? It seems quick. It was 4.443. 4.43.
Yeah.
I was like, that's quick. And then you look at it's like, well, no, someone's run a 4.31 or. I was like, that's not that much difference. But you talk in these kind of microseconds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also speed as a concept, you can break that down even further. A guy can have long speed. He can have great quickness laterally. He can have great acceleration. You know, you can break it down again and again and again. And 4.43 is exceptionally fast. Like Lewis has world-class speed, whatever sport he's playing. But I think what is so enticing to teams is you've got that speed that you very clearly put on display with exceptional ball carrier instincts, acceleration, agility that he's already banked with the years of rugby film that he already has that you could see. So you break that down again, and speed isn't the same with everyone. It comes in different forms. But he was plenty fast enough. I told him that on the day as well. He wanted to run faster, but he always wants to run faster.
Let's get into that. Let's get into Louis-Rees Zammit then, because he is the high-profile player that we're talking about here. It's the one that the audience want to hear about. So he was fast that day, yeah?
Yeah.
And is that the fastest that he has, like, you know, you'll obviously be training for that. He'll be clocking up times in training. Had he run faster?
We did have him in the 4.3s in training at times. He hit a top speed during our 10-week camp at 23.6 mile an hour during one of our practices, which is nuts. Like,
where would that rank compared to some of the guys playing? I
mean, very few players in the NFL are hitting 23 mile an hour. The top, the most elite names that are known for their speed might get in the 23s. I mean, it was documented that Lewis hit 24.2, I think, when he played Fiji last year.
Yeah, that's done the rounds.
Yeah,
and so the NFL are privy to that, right? So they're not going based on that one 40-meter dash. They'll have access to the
and
data.
We had 10 weeks worth of GPS data on him as well that we shared with clubs, and we told him, you know, and I think you just need to turn on the rugby film. And even I spoke to a lot of American scouts and personnel people who don't know anything about rugby, but you can watch Louis-Rees Zammit's film and tell that he's fast and tell that he's handy with the ball in his hands. So that translates. Of course it does.